Who would you like to see Liverpool bring in this summer?
I think, I mean, the biggest thing for me is they're going to have to resolve the centre back issue, because I think even if Van Dijk, Gomez, and Matip are back for pre-season, say, it's just you can't. There's no way when you've lost when three players are coming back from such serious injuries, and there's no guarantees that they'll all be back fit for the start of next season anyway. But even if they are, I just think Liverpool have to go and buy another frontline centre back. You know, at least one. Of course, Kabak has got the chance at the moment to prove that he should be the man and that Liverpool should trigger that £18 million option. I'd like to see them go for someone like Kanate at Leipzig. I think from what I've seen of him, I think he would be a good fit for Liverpool. So that's one area. I think Wijnaldum, if as expected, he will go on a free. Then I think that is someone that has to be replaced in the squad as well, especially when you look at just the sheer number of minutes that he plays. And then further forward, I just think Firmino's downturn does worry me. I'm not. I wrote a piece a few days ago, kind of just highlighting that I just don't feel as if the argument that he gives you so much more than goals really stacks up anymore in terms of. I just don't think he is quite the same force, and I think a lot of that is down to just, again, the sheer number of minutes and the kind of schedule that he's had for so many years. So, I think Origi will go this summer. So I think it's just a case of Liverpool need to go and sign a centre forward, a number 9, who just gives them another option up there. Because I know obviously Jota's back in full training now, and that's massive. But I wouldn't as good as Jota is and as versatile as Jota is, he's not really a number 9 in the true sense of the word. And of course, we'd all like anyone, I'd absolutely love to see Liverpool go for someone like Haaland. He would be the absolute ultimate, wouldn't he, in terms of everything you'd look for in a centre forward. The only issue with that is every big club in Europe will be chasing his signature, and obviously there's the odd situation where I think his release clause is ridiculously low at £65 million or something, but it doesn't kick in for I think till the summer of 2022. So yeah, I think at the moment it's very difficult to kind of really talk about the summer, because it just feels to me that so much of what needs to be done in the summer, what can be done, will be dependent on what happens in the next few months. Because this idea that there's going to be some massive expensive rebuild, I don't think that's going to happen regardless. But being able to make real high caliber acquisitions will be a lot harder if Liverpool aren't in the Champions League, because we know it's no secret the business model of the club. FSG don't take any money out of the club, but they don't plow money into it either. What is generated gets put back in, and if you were to miss out on the Champions League, that leaves a massive hole. So that's why the next few months are absolutely huge. Whether it's Liverpool can clamber back into that top 4, or even go all the way in the Champions League and be part of the competition next season through that route. But that is what is so key to to the summer plans.
Absolutely, and that sort of brings me to January, James, and what happened in January, where we went into January at the top of the league, looking very good in the league. We played Tottenham just before Christmas, where we thought that would be we won that game, and it looked like a big step in the right direction towards the title. The centre-back issue was clearly a problem. And at the start of January, it looked like we wouldn't go into our pockets. But then at the end of January, we were almost forced into it with Matip and Fabinho injuries as well. What do you make of Liverpool's January transfer business with the signings of Kabak and Davis on deadline day? Do you think FSG left it far too late?
Yeah. There's no doubt that as a club, Liverpool did leave it too late. I think the feeling was at the start of January, well, probably before January. I think even like November, December time. I just felt that all the noises coming out of the club was that no, we've got something in mind, but it's for the summer, and it's not realistic to bring it forward to January ability or the sheer cost of it. So we'll sit tight, and I think at the time they just felt that they had sufficient options, and that I think there was this a feeling that as long as Fabinho, obviously keeping him fit was always going to be huge. Trying to get Matip into a position where he could play 2 or 3 games a week as well. And it just worried me at the time, and it's not just the benefit of hindsight, because I wrote about it at the time that they needed to go and do something, and it was no, we don't do short-term fixes. We just stick to long-term plans. And then as it was, the hand was forced ultimately by Matip's season-ending injury, and obviously with the other issues to players that had played back there. So it just wasn't ideal, because I feel sorry for Kabak, because and for Ben Davies in a way, because I think suddenly by leaving it to the very last day, there's suddenly they're thrown in at the deep end, and I'm not surprised we haven't seen Ben Davies in a Liverpool shirt yet, because he probably does need a few weeks to try and get used to his new surroundings. And the idea that you pluck a fella from a mid-table championship team defence and throw him into a club that's got ambitions of clambering back into the top 4 of the Premier League, and it doesn't stack up to me. And even more so, if people say to me, Liverpool have to play Kabak and Davis together. Well, I struggle to understand the logic behind that, because then suddenly you've got 2 centre halves who aren't familiar with the system and the style, and when to press, when to drop off. So yeah, and with Kabak as well, I think because he's obviously come from the Bundesliga, he has got a reputation. Bayern Munich and Juventus were sniffing around him in previous transfer windows. That clearly there's something to him, but again, he's 20 years of age, and he's come from a team that were getting absolutely annihilated most weeks in the Bundesliga. So he's going to need time as well, and that's why, for me, something had to happen on January the 1st, not February the 1st, because it was almost too little, too late in terms of addressing what was a massive issue. And I understand the issues with the finance, and I understand the issues with January isn't the perfect time to go and get someone, and especially in this COVID season. Whether people want to hear it or not, there is an issue there with a lot of clubs don't want to reduce the size of their squads. And if they do, you're paying crazy money for it. But I just felt that with what was at stake, Liverpool needed to be more proactive, and exactly what the cost is to Liverpool, I think will only be apparent come the end of the season, because if they were to miss out on the top 4 by a few points, then people will rightly be pointing to why it took a month to strengthen that defence.
Yeah, it seemed to me like a gamble gone wrong by FSG, where they gambled on what we had being enough. And then by the end of the month, obviously, what we had was even less, with Matip then being out for the season, and their hand was forced. And, you said about both Davis and Kabak that, they need time, but when you sign players at the end of January, time isn't really what you have. And what I do praise the club for is the nature of the deals, both low cost, with the Kabak one. I think it was very good that we didn't get into anything where we were obligated to buy him in the summer. It's just an option. So if it didn't work for him, we can reassess in the summer and bring someone new in.
Yeah. And I think also, probably not that he needs more motivation, but it will provide more motivation for Kabak in the next few months, knowing that his future is on the line. He is as someone explained it to me at Liverpool, it's like a try before you buy thing with Kabak, and it's like an extended trial where show us what you can do. Are you worth the agreement that's there that we can decide to trigger or not? And yeah, I actually think he's done all right so far. Like I know he had a really difficult day in the Merseyside derby, and yes, I think he should have done better with the first goal, but I also think he hasn't been helped out at times. Like even that first goal was, it was shoddy the way Liverpool threw away possession in midfield. I think it was Thiago and absolutely no fault attached to Kabak with Alisson's rush of blood and him clattering into him at Leicester. And I thought he was really good in midweek against Leipzig. So yeah, I wouldn't be passing any sweeping judgments on him yet. I think we've seen 18 different centre back pairings already. I think hopefully if they can get Fabinho back, if he's ready for the weekend, then great. If not, for Chelsea next week, then I still think probably that Fabinho-Kabak partnership is probably the one we're going to see, hopefully, touch wood, in terms of no one else getting injured. That's probably the partnership that's going to hold the key for Liverpool in the rest of the season.
But January was also a month for planning for the future, James. We saw young starlet from Derby County, Kai Gordon, coming in. There was also Liam Hughes from Celtic and a couple of others. Smart business for the future, but we see it often from Liverpool, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of very separate, isn't it? I think from the kind of recruitment that that's about the here and now. It's all about looking at long term in the same way as building the training ground and redoing the ground. It's all about looking after the longer term as well as the here and now. And I just think they've especially with the Brexit rules coming in. I think Stefan Bajcevic, I'm not sure if that pronunciation's quite right, but the centre back from Celta Vigo came in. Clearly, that one had to be done then before, if they were going to be able to bring him in before the rules changed. And certainly, Cade Gordon from Derby, probably the biggest name in terms of the ones that they brought in. I know, speaking to people at Derby, that they were desperately gutted to lose him. A real exciting talent, and yes, of course he's not gonna see him trying to salvage anything from this season for Liverpool, but in the coming years, I think there's a real belief that he will be of sufficient ability to make a difference. And even if these players don't, this is about it's. Again, it comes back to the business model of, if the academy costs, I think, probably 10 to 12 million quid a year to run, then, it has to pay its way. And sometimes that is selling on young players who aren't quite good enough for Liverpool's first team. And I think, what was the other one that came in? Callum Scanlon from Birmingham, a talented youth international fullback that again, I think, and what Liverpool are quite careful of with the academy as well, is they only tend to sign players in positions in age groups where they feel that there is a gap. You get some big clubs who will literally just stockpile young players and then loan them out as and when. But these players have been brought in because there's a feeling that in those age groups currently, these are positions that aren't particularly well stocked. So yeah, I think they it was some exciting young players there, especially when you look into some of the stories behind them. And yeah, and there is a lot of talent coming through at the academy. It's because of obviously with COVID, I haven't been able to get up to the academy as much as I would have liked to this season. But yeah, I know there's a lot of excitement about some of the ones that are coming through.
Yeah, there definitely is, which brings me onto quite a big talking point, really, in terms of football as a whole at the moment, and academy football. COVID has really affected youth football at a similar time that Brexit has brought a big sucker punch to youth football, and what clubs look to do in terms of bringing in young talent from overseas. Obviously, the season was null and voided last season at academy level. Many games have been cancelled this year, including the Youth League. Do you feel as though it could really restrict opportunities for some youngsters?
Yeah, I mean, it has been a real, tough period for everyone, hasn't it? I think, and I do feel sorry for those young players, the ones that have been denied opportunities that they'd have been working towards for a period of time with, especially things like the UEFA Youth League and the Youth Cup and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think it has been incredibly difficult to try and keep it going and try and motivate and um, I think obviously the real older age groups, they've still been able to train and play in their kind of bubbles, but then obviously it's just been I think I remember speaking to one coach who said they'd had to get changed in about 5 or 6 different changing rooms to try and like satisfy all the social distancing issues, and obviously the younger age groups, they've had to kind of fall back on things like like having to do things over Zoom and everything. And yeah, I mean, the only thing is in terms of their development, it's pretty much been the same across the board, hasn't it? It's every youngster at every club has had to deal with the same, unfortunately. So yeah, I think that's one major plus in the feeling that we are over the worst of it now. That hopefully come the summer we'll see the academy back to some kind of normality again.
And obviously, we saw Gary O'Neill depart for Bournemouth yesterday. It's a big opportunity for him, but it's a big loss for Liverpool and for Barry Lutus.
Yeah. I think I never really got the feeling that Gary, it was going to be like a real long-term thing. I think he was keen to get coaching experience, and of course he was the number two to Barry Lutus, and Gary had that relationship with Michael Edwards going back to their time together at Portsmouth. So yeah, I think it's just a great move for him. I think I think everyone will wish him well. He was a popular figure. I think the players enjoyed working with him. But yeah, and no one I think will begrudge him that, because it is a step up to join Jonathan Woodgate's first team coaching staff at Bournemouth in the Championship. So yeah, good luck to him.
And finally, James, before I let you go, is there any particular youth players that you have your eye on at the minute in Liverpool's under 18s and 23s?
Yeah, there's a few actually. Yeah, I think I really like Leighton Stewart. I think we talk about Liverpool maybe lacking a bit of firepower through the middle, and of course he's still got a lot to learn. He's only 18, but he's a real natural goal scorer. He's been prolific this season, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how he kicks on. And I think he'd be one especially that I'd expect that Klopp would have a look at in pre-season in the summer. Billy Cometio, I think probably because he probably in really difficult circumstances. He came on, didn't he, against Midtjylland in that Champions League dead rubber, and it was probably it's fair to say it was a nervy start for him. But he's a big talent as well. And again, still ridiculously young, especially in centre back terms. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's capable of. And then I think the other one who I hadn't seen much of before this season, but every time I've seen him this season, he's impressed me, is James Balagizi. And I knew that a few years ago, Man City were happy about the fact that they lost him to Liverpool, and and people felt that he was this big talent who could go on to be a star. And again, the usual caveats of he's only 17, he's still got a lot to learn. But I saw him play a few months back now at the academy, and I just think he's almost everything you would want someone to have as a central midfielder. He's got in terms of physicality and technique as well, and an eye for a pass. So yeah, you don't play for the under 18s at Liverpool at the age of 15 unless you're a bit special. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Balagizi develops.